The plenary speech by Professor Pierre-Sylvain Filliozat, and his topic is the poetical face of the mathematical and astronomical works of Bhaskaracharya. Professor Filliozat is the Emeritus Director of Studies in Sanskrit at the École Pratique des Hautes Études, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, and a member of the Académie des Inscriptions et Belles Lettres at Paris. I think if you have understood Paris and France, that is enough. He is the son of Jean Filliozat, the great Indologist of France. His range of interest covers practically every field of Indology, such as grammar, poetry, art, architecture, mathematics, and astronomy. One more thing which I would like to tell you, that there has been an announcement on 15th August from the Rashtrapati Bhavan that he has been selected for a President's Award. Which is given to those Sanskrit scholars who are working from other countries. So hope it will be handed over to him very soon. But until we wait for that, let us listen to Professor Filliozat. Thank you.
Shriman Vedikara Mahashayaha Pracharyaha Adarinya Adyakshavarya Acharyaha Sukhidaha Sarve Samskrita Sahitya Rasikaha France Gatoham France Deshat Agatoham Saprashayam Abhivadaye. At the outset, I wish to inform you I have come for the 900 years of Bhaskara. First, I wish to inform you that the French people, or at least the French Indologists, are celebrating a bicentenary this year. Because in 1814, there was a royal decree to establish a chair of Sanskrit in Paris, in the most prestigious institution for teaching and research in France, the College of France. That was done in 1814, on the 29th of November 1814, signed by the French king. He was dethroned just a few months afterwards. Napoleon came back to power, and he confirmed the decree. That was the worst period of trouble, of turmoil in French history. But at that time, great people have thought of the existence of Sanskrit, and they have established a new chair. The first lesson of Sanskrit was pronounced in Paris, official lecture, in 15th of January 1815. Then there has been a continuous tradition of teaching Sanskrit in France. I belong to this tradition. I try to maintain it. And because of this, I am present here to celebrate Bhaskara's 900 years. I wish to thank first the organizer of this conference. That was a beautiful idea. I wish to thank especially Professor S.R. Sharma, who was responsible for my coming here, and who proposed me to speak about the poetry of Bhaskaracharya. If he had asked me to speak about mathematics and astronomy, maybe I would have had some hesitation, but poetry I could not resist. I have come, I have accepted immediately. I wish also to thank especially Professor Rama Subramaniam, because he has already done my lecture yesterday. And I have practically everything has been told. I will still do my lecture. I will avoid to repeat the same points, because fortunately for me, Alankara Shastra is very rich in, in the Sanskrit Shastras. It contains many, it gives a lot of resources, and all of them could not be completed yesterday. Even I say that two people are not sufficient to do justice to the richness of Alankara Shastra and the richness of Bhaskara's poetry. There is one particular idea expounded many times in Alankara Shastra, starting from Anandavardhana, that is the author of Dvanyaloka. This is the concept of Dhvani. The summit of poetry is not plain expression. It is not mere alankara, chitra alankara, alliterations or comparisons, metaphor, etc. There is something more. There is what is suggested in what goes in the mind of the rasika, the sympathetic reader or listener, who will continue to think of the words pronounced by the poet and will find indefinitely new meanings. This is called Dhvani. This is Anurana, the resonance, the echo of the words, the literal words of the poem. There are two types of Dhvani. One is Artha Dhvani, that is development of meaning. There is another one, this is the feeling, the inner sentiment, which is which comes in the heart of the listener, of the reader, when he hears poetry, when he thinks and recollects the words. This sentiment is communicated from the hero depicted, the words of the poet, and the mind of and the heart of the listener, of the audience. Abhinavagupta says that the greatest poet who feels the rasa, the real sentiment, the real flavor, who has the real aesthetic experience, this is not the author, this is not the actor in theater, this is not the reader, this is not the pronouncer, it is only the reader. So I will try just to add a little Dhvani to what Mr. Professor Ramasubramaniam has told you yesterday very, very well, very brilliantly. Okay, so we cannot escape this word. Everybody loves this opening word of Siddhanta Shiromani. Just a little Dhvani on Lilavati and on Lalitya. On Lilavati, I can add, you may think that it is fancy, but I may add that there is one meaning of Lila which is facility. A game is easy, it is pleasant, it is also easy to perform. In Vedanta Shastra, it is very commonly said, and in all schools of Vedanta, it is commonly said that the creation of the world, the destruction of the world, the maintenance of the world is just a lila of the Lord. There is this idea which was probably present in the mind of Bhaskara when he chose this qualification for his party, for his procedure because he wanted to do something accessible, something charming, but also something easy to grasp. And it is true that even mathematical procedures are sometimes more shorter, more elegant, and easier compared to Brahmagupta or Aryabhata's procedures. We can see it for Kuttaka and in other examples. There is a beautiful description of what is Leela, the Leela of the Supreme Lord, given by Vachaspati Mishra in the beginning of his Bhamati. He says that creation of Veda for the Parabrahma is no more effort than inhaling. Creation of the Mahabhutas, the 5 main elements, principle of elements, this is no more effort for him than to cast, to look, vikshitam. And characharam etasya smitam, creation of this or mobile and immobile things, objects, that our prapancha, our phenomenal world, for him this is nothing more than a smile. Now I can just say that the Siddhanta Shiromani is the smile of Bhaskara. About Lalitya. In Sanskrit drama, there are 2 types of hero, of Nayaka. There is a Dhirodatta, the hero who is firm, constant, and noble. So we can say this of Rama and all the great kings who are acting in Sanskrit dramas. There is another type of hero who is Dhira Lalita. This is a playful hero, the one who is courting the heroine, who is, of course, of lighter conduct, who has some flippancy, and who is beautiful and charming. So why did Bhaskara qualify his Lilavati with Lalitya? Because all his examples are sorts of small dramas. It is a dialogue. The mathematician is addressing a child, addressing a young girl, addressing a colleague, addressing a merchant, all kinds of persons. And he's always doing that very courteously, very amiably. So this is the meaning of Lalitya here. The mathematician is Dhira Lalita Nayaka. I will pass over. I can pass this. This has been shown yesterday. This is the Mangala Shloka of Goladhyaya, and you can see that Lalitya Lilavati is coming again. This is not only for the Lilavati, it is for the whole, the 4 parts of Shiromani. In Goladhyaya, the last Adhyaya of Siddhanta Shiromani, you can read the Sanskrit. I cannot chant it as it has been done just now. By just thinking of it. So there is first a salutation to Ganesha, and then a beautiful salutation, homage to Sarasvati. Not directly Sarasvati. You have 2 times the word Bharati. So, in one meaning, Kritinam Bharati, this is the speech of the Pandits, the speech of the learned, the speech of the poets. And the next word, Bharati, refers to Bharatasya Iyam, Bharati. This is the dancer. that actor or dancer, female dancer, who has some relation with Bharata, the propounder of theatrical art and dance and music. There is one particle, Eva for comparison. It has been displaced for reason of the matter, but it is a comparison between the two Bharati. The speech of the poet is like a dancer. Then there are a number of qualifications. All these qualifications, even if it is one word, by Schlecher, by amalgamating two meanings in one word, they can be appropriate for both terms of the comparisons. First, Chitrapada. Well, this is obvious. Pada means a step in dance. It means also a word. So the speech of the poet is full of beautiful words. The dancer has also beautiful steps in the time of her dance. Lalitya Lilavati, courteously, elegantly, playful. This applies evidently to both the speech of the poet, Bhaskara displays it, and also to the dancer. Nrityanti, well, the dancer is dancing, and the speech of the poet is also dancing. In the dance of the dancer dances upon a regular rhythm, well-definite rhythm. And the speech of the poet speaks, follows the chandas, that is also a kind of rhythm. So this is both appropriate. Dance is the profession of the dancer. It is also the profession of the poet who writes in chandas, in verses. Kritina, alors Mukha Ranga Geva. Ga, it is going, the dancer is going Ranga on the stage. And which stage? It is the mouth of the poet. This is what we call Rupaka. This is Rupaka Samasa. Rupaka is also doing a sort of amalgamation of two meanings in two different words which are placed together, one near the other, without any other particle. This is equivalent to the metaphor. This verse contains a salutation first to Ganesha, then to Sarasvati, because Bharati, this is a common name, this is a speech of the poet, this is also Vagdevi, this is the goddess Sarasvati. There is a ritual which was very current in the time of Bhaskara, 12th century, when the priest enters the temple in the morning before the puja. To proceed for morning puja, he first passes the door of the sanctum. First, he salutes Ganesha on the right, on the left part of the lintel. Then he salutes Sarasvati in the middle, and Lakshmi in the middle, and Sarasvati on the right. And then he can enter in the sanctum and proceed to the puja. This is the first verse of Mangala Shloka and salutation done by Bhaskara at the time of starting the Golardhyaya, the description of the universe, the sphere of universe. the universe, his sphere, is the residence of the Lord, of God. But Bhaskara is entering this, this temple, which is the universe, and is, of course, saluting, according to the usual rituals, the two deities when he enters this temple to pronounce his Goladhyaya. This is an illustration of this of a lintel. This is found represented in sculpture in many places in South India. At least I have seen it a number of times in South India. I had no better picture than this, but you can see on the left one Ganesha, this is clear. On the right, this is Sarasvati. I have checked it, the photograph is not very good. That was just in a ruined temple in Hampi. There are a few pre-Vijayanagar temple in Hampi, and this is one which is completely ruined. The lintel was on the ground. That's why the photograph is not so good. I beg your pardon for it. But you may find it also in some temples of 12th century in Maharashtra. So we can say that there are two different styles in Bhaskara's work, in Bhaskara Siddhanta Shiromani, especially in Lilavati. There is a style for the definition, the Lakshana, and there is a style for the for examples, Udaharana. Of course, the style of examples is more free. The style of Lakshana, of the definition, follows the kind of formalization which was accepted by the Indian mathematicians. This is not a very thorough formalization like Panini's Ashtadhyayi or Pingala's Chandas Sutra, but this is a formalization because the same principle of shortness of expression is always followed. Here it is followed by means of ellipsis. So the word number, Rashi, is mentioned only once. With the help of Bhuta Sankhya, symbolic names of objects representing numbers, that gives the facility to the poet to choose a great number of synonyms. For zero, all synonyms of words meaning void, void space, sky, all these can be used. Of course, here Bhaskara has taken the shortest one, Ka, which is not common in literature, but which is very common in mathematical literature. You know very well the rule. I do not come. I will just stop one moment on this Ka, which is a peculiar thing. When I was going to school in France, I was told that division by zero was impossible. Bhaskara does not say impossible. He says it is kahara. It is kahara means amounts to mean a fraction whose denominator is zero. And we only this, and we remain with this. So this idea has suggested and provoked in the mind of Bhaskara a beautiful comparison. So that is found in Bijaganita, in this kahara. Kahara is recognized as a number, ratio. There is no change. No change should occur even when many numbers, high numbers, enter or go out. If we add a number, if we make an addition of any number to a kahara, to a fraction with denominator 0, the result will be the fraction. Fraction will not change because we have to make a reduction to the same denominator and we obtained the addition of 0. So the kahara plus 0 is equal to the kahara. There is no change. To illustrate this idea, Bhaskara says it is the same at the time of reabsorption and emission, we can say destruction and creation of the world, when troops of beings enter and go out of infinite Achyuta. Achyuta is Vishnu. This is the appropriate name here, undecaying deity, undecaying Lord, who is, of course, consequently infinite. It is often told that here, on this point, I have a doubt. It is often told that this is the idea of infinity has been discovered and has been presented by Bhaskara. I am not sure. We have a simple comparison, and with a comparison, we cannot make the derivation of a mathematical proposition. So I feel that the idea of infinity does not come, infinity of the kahara. Bhaskara here does not say the kahara means infinity. He does not say that. He just makes a comparison with the Supreme Lord. He has just a great poetical idea. To my feeling, it is no more than that. So a number of examples have been given already yesterday, but I cannot resist to show you some more. This one was not presented. The speciality of these examples, I was telling, this is a Lalitya. This is a kind of small dialogue, very fit for theater, very fit for action. It could be represented by dance. This is the dance of Bhaskara. Here we have a demonstration of Rasa Shringara, Shringara Rasa. In the two varieties of Shringara, love in union, love in separation. Here we have Sambhoga, love in union. Rasa is coming, is felt by the listener only when it is suggested. It should not be expressed. If we say simply, I love you, there is, well, this is private, this is not a demonstration, and nobody will get interested. But if we describe a scene which suggests that, okay, that will be communicated to everyone. I hope that you have read, you have enjoyed. I do not say anything more, but we can say this, I feel this is the genius of the poet Bhaskara. There is no better way of presentation that to describe the union of two young lovers than to speak about the break of a necklace and when they are searching the pearls, the disorder of the pearls is the element which suggests the Shringara Rasa. Okay, another beautiful example, if I feel it was not shown yesterday. Bhaskara had leaning for flora and fauna. He uses very much the bee, the elephant. Here it is a flock of birds. And not any bird, it is a hamsa. The hamsa is a mythical bird. It is a symbol of purity. It is a symbol of discrimination. The sannyasin who renounces life and lives a life of purity is called Paramahamsa. This is quite proper because he has a pure conduct and he can discriminate between the Maya and the supreme Paramartha, the supreme truth. So 10 times the square root of a flock of Hamsa went to Manasa Lake at the advent of clouds. So this is a migrating bird which is represented here. And this is a natural character of this bird. In the time of monsoon. This is also the image of the sannyasin which goes to the Manasa Lake for at the time of renunciation, the Mahaprasthana. So we have a presentation of one part of the flock of Hamsa going to renunciation. And another part, 1/8 of it, flew away from the bank of water towards the garden of ground lotuses. So this part of the hamsas, of the birds, are staying on the earth, and they are still interested in eating and taking seeds of lotuses and stalks of lotuses. They represent those beings which are attached to bhoga, which are attached to experience and enjoyment of the world, and who have no renunciation. And in the same line, in the water full of fresh lotus stalks, longing for amorous sports, one sees 3 couples of hamsa, tells the number of the flock. The number, I have forgotten the solution, but we are not interested in the solution and in the problem. The 2 parts, what is here remarkable is the description of the 2 parts of these hamsas. Because I am sure that here Bhaskara wanted to illustrate a beautiful saying, a description of 2 birds in Upanishads. A famous passage, the description of the 2 birds, Vasuparna Sayuja Sakaya Samanam Vriksham Parishajvajate Tayor Anyaha Piparam Swadu Atte Anashnan Anyo Abhichaka Shiti. 2 birds are enjoying, are residing in a tree. One of them takes the sweet pippala, the sweet fruit. The other, without eating, looks around. So we have a transposition, a poetical transposition of this very old Upanishadic teaching in this verse of Bhaskara. The whole of Sanskrit culture is coming in Siddhanta Shiromani. This we have seen yesterday. I will pass. Time. Well, this we have seen also yesterday, the problem of the peacock and the serpent. I show this especially for this illustrated manuscript. Here we have, for the passage of geometrical figures, the scribe has done the design of the geometrical figures. Here, this is a design for the previous problem. He comes to this problem as means stambatale in the bottom, in the last lines. Yes, and continues on the next. There is one more geometrical figure in the right corner below. This is for the following problem. But for this peacock and serpent problem, the scribe has not done any geometrical figure. Maybe he was interested only in the story. He was not interested in the problem. So he has done this nice design of a peacock over, over the pillar, and the serpent is below. I feel that time is passing, so I will go straight away to the description of the earth, what is called Bhuvanakosha. Bhuvanakosha, this is one of the very poetical parts of Siddhanta Shiromani. Simple description of the earth. I invite you to read it quickly. The mass of the earth being round and circled by the orbits of so many planets, being made of 5 elements, having no support other than itself, by its own force stands in space. This is a peculiar idea of Bhaskara, and he will maintain it and argue for it very nicely. On all sides, this is a continuation of the description of this globe, of this Bhuvana. On all sides, it is covered with multitudes of hills, groves, villages, temples, like the tight knot of the flower of Kadamba, with its multitude of filaments. This is one more beautiful comparison of Bhaskara. And here I wanted to show the quality of his observation of nature. And the proof for the appropriateness of this comparison is just the Kadamba flower. This is called now Neolamarciana Kadamba. Roxburgh, no, this is not the definition, the name of done by Roxburgh. The name by Roxburgh was Nauclea Kadamba. And this is a typical Indian flower, original in India, so that the word, the name, the Sanskrit name has been preserved in the Latin nomenclature. Now the argument of Bhaskara, which is not deprived of humor. If the earth had a solid support, then another should support it, then another, thus regressus ad infinitum. If one presumes its own force for the last support, why not for the first one? Why not for the earth? The earth is one body of the 8-bodied Shiva. This is the concept of Ashtamurti, Ashtamurti Shiva, which Bhaskara introduced. The Ashtamurti are the 5 elements. Earth is the first one. Bhaskara takes it as being the earth. And of course, we cannot say that a body of Shiva has not the force to support himself in space. So even for the sake of demonstration, Bhaskara has resorted to poetry. As there is heat in the sun and fire, cold in the moon, liquidness in water, hardness in stone, as wind is mobile, the earth is immobile by her own nature, because beautiful are the powers of things. So that will be my conclusion. Bhaskara had one feeling, very intense feeling of admiration towards the structure of the universe, towards the structure of numbers. He has done so much, and he has so much contemplated the procedures to calculate with numbers and to see the logic in which they are structured. That he conceived, and he felt certainly the feeling which all mathematicians are feeling of the beauty of the nature of the world. And this feeling he has communicated very well in his work, in his Siddhanta Shiromani. I have insisted on these last examples just to show the elevated character of the poetry of Bhaskara. Bhaskara has written in verse like all the authors of mathematics and other shastras, other techniques. Very frequently they have not done anything else than writing verses. Some have used alankaras, but we can go further. Bhaskara has invented, and this is original in him, he has invented, created a lot of elevated poetical discourse on the basis of this mathematics. And this discourse is found everywhere in Siddhanta Shiromani. In him, poetry and mathematical, astronomical intelligence were fused together, really fused together. We cannot separate them. In this, Bhaskara appears as an authentic and one of the greatest pandits, Sanskrit pandits of Indian culture. I feel that reading Siddhanta Shiromani is maybe sometimes difficult, but this is the most rewarding adventure which I have attempted. Thank you very much.
What is the term he is using for infinity?
Ananta. But this is a qualification of Achyuta.
But he is using this term throughout Siddhanta Shiromani, or he changes the term from one chapter to another?
This is not the mathematical term. When he is using it...
No, that's all right. It's
yes.
not mathematical, but...
Ananta, he has mentioned the Lord, the Supreme Lord many times, with all possible qualifications. I do not know, I do not remember any other passage where he is qualifying the Supreme Lord with another word than Ananta.
Can we translate Ananta as no end?
No end, yes. This is literal.
Thank you.
No end, and also it implies no beginning. Anadi Ananta.
My name is Hari Koirala. I'm originally from Nepal. I work in the United States. I teach teachers. And I was very, very interested about Bhaskaracharya's work, the whole work, but especially the work on infinity. And especially, like, I can read Sanskrit, but I don't understand the terms, like when it comes to things like infinity. And I was very interested on what you said about what Bhaskaracharya compared infinity to Supreme Lord, Ananta, but at the same time, I have seen some of the English translation that I think they said that Bhaskaracharya sometimes said 1/2 is 0. I mean, I think that's such a important thing, and I wonder if you or anybody can clarify about infinity, because I think the infinity it's such an important concept, and there are claims that the formal discovery of calculus was delayed because of the lack of understanding of infinity.
Yes, but
really good for myself and for the whole audience, I believe, if we can clarify furthermore on the concept of infinity by Bhaskaracharya.
Simply, I can say that it is dangerous to actualize when we translate these authors. It is better to do very literal translations and to see the letter of the expression. If we superimpose modern ideas, modern mathematical ideas, this is a bit dangerous. And just now, just before, I had seen on the shelf outside one book for the children, and this verse, Asmin Kahare, and so on, with this simple comparison, this verse was telling Bhaskara has discovered the idea of infinity. I feel it is a bit exaggerated. This is pure actualization, which unfortunately happens quite frequently in translations of ancient authors. Yes?
I had read this verse, and when I contemplated on this, I did not find any contradiction, as you are trying to point out in the verse, between Kahara and Ananta. So this verse, in my view, is primarily to explain the concept of Kahara using a philosophical metaphor.
Yes.
So it is not a description of Ananta, but it is a description of Kahara taking Ananta as simile.
Taking Achyuta as simile.
Achyuta is Ananta, so there is no doubt about it. So we cannot distinguish Achyuta and Ananta. So we refer to one and the same entity by Achyuta as well as Ananta. And yes, Aspin Vikara Kahare na Rashau. So he is, see, the Uddeshya of this shloka is Rashi. Uddeshya of this shloka is Rashi.
Yes.
So Asmin Vikara Kahare na Rashau, then he goes on to describe what it is. And therefore, I don't see any problem in understanding this verse to explain the concept of Kahara, which is what he has used even in Leelavati, I mean the text which I was describing.
Yes.
So not only Bhaskara, so others have also used the term Kahara. So Kahara, as obviously stated by you, is anything divided by 0. So given this, so whatever is the number that we think of, he has simply said as Rashi. So it is a certain Rashi.
Yes.
So conceiving that quantity as a Rashi is a milestone. Conceiving 0 as a Rashi, as any other Rashi. Rashi is a generic term which has been employed by people to refer to some number. So Kahara is referred to as a Rashi, and he says Kahare Rashau.
Yes.
And therefore, I do not see any serious problem in understanding this verse as a description to the notion of infinity that we have.
I do not see a contradiction. Anyway, thank you for this remark.
I don't think Professor Filliozat saw any contradiction, but to put the things in perspective a little bit about the so-called Shunya Ganita, the section on mathematics of zero, It's Brahmagupta who had a section of 0 in addition, 0 in subtraction, 0 in multiplication, and 0 in division. Now with the question, problem occurs with the 0 in division. As far as I remember, that was long ago. 0 in division he did not say what the result will be. If anything, x divided by 0 would be called simply ka cheda, that which has ka as the divisor. I think it is later Sridhara, who used the word kahara instead of kacheda. It is Bhaskara who explained what kahara ultimately results into. I suppose there must be another verse before this where kaharo anantaha. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so he explained that kahara is ananta, that kahara is, I mean, that which is divided by 0. Other people did not say what it happens. It is he who said it is, that is ananta. And
But where does he say it?
I don't remember. In fact, I even wrote an article.
In Vasana?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's long time. I even wrote an article for IGNC volume Kala Tattva Kosha on
Yes, I
Shunya,
know.
if you remember. And then to illustrate what Ananta is, he is explaining this Kaharo and so on, this verse which you have stated. The second question is about 0 minus 0 divided by 0. That's a little bit separate.
Yes.
And that is where I thought in Bhaskara said 0 divided by 0 is Ananta, did he say, or
No.
what it is?
It doesn't change the quantity. So you have any quantity, multiply by 0 and divide by 0, the quantity remains unchanged.
Yes,
Therefore,
this is a basic idea.
Yeah.
This is to show
No.
what he demonstrates is the absence of change. The kahara plus something remains the kahara.
Kahara, yes, all right. And then the question, other one which he asked is about 0 divided by 0.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think he also mentions that several people said this is the beginning of calculus.
Yes,
A
yes.
number of people
This
said
is-
this is where Bhaskara created.
we have
introduced.
still we have to
Well,
be prudent.
I mean, that exactly, we have to be prudent there. So this is actually the state of historical affairs.
Combining science or mathematics and poetry is a heritage of Bhaskara, and it was Ishvara Krishna who has described the cosmic creation as rangasya darshayitva nivartate nartaki yatha nrityat purushasya darshayitva nivartate prakritis tatha sargat. So this is a common theme, and I congratulate you for bringing this poetical aspect of Bhaskara. The last one.
Let me add that we all join him.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is not related to the previous question. Just a comment, not a question. So he was talking about the Earth, being in space, unsupported. Okay. So actually, many people think that people in the ancient cosmologies had very funny notions about the situation of the Earth and so on. See, for instance, the famous particle physicist Weinberg, in his book, First 3 Minutes, a very excellent book on Big Bang cosmology. In the beginning, he says, that in the old period, people used to think, Earth is, resting on elephants. Now, where will the elephants rest on? They will rest on turtles, and so on and so forth. I mean, he's not specifically maybe talking about Indian this thing, but he's ridiculing the old cosmologies, where, all these kinds of funny things were there. So it's very noteworthy that here, they're talking about Earth being unsupported by, unsupported and situated in space.